I'm ready to get started. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to share 5 things. I think it's 5 things about me. I come from sales. I've, as it says here, I've been in the trenches and I've led the troops. So many moons ago, I started carrying the bag as a retail sales rep for a company called Alcon. And basically, over the course of 7 years, ended up running 3 divisions as VP of Sales and Marketing. And I'm trying to multitask here. So I've had the opportunity for probably over 10 or 15 years to be in senior leadership roles. For the last 18 years, I've worked as a sales leadership coach. So I've had just to give you a quick understanding, I've been recognized as one of the top 50 thought leaders by Top Sales World. I'm now on the faculty at Schulich Executive Education at York University, which I've been working to get on for probably the last 5 years. It's based in Toronto and one of the top, I think, business universities in Canada. I've had the pleasure of coaching over 100 sales executives and managers over the last 18 years. And really what I love to do is inspire leaders to achieve outstanding results and for them to inspire their people. So I'm going to talk about 5 sales leadership strategies, but the overarching thing in terms of sales leadership that I don't want anyone to forget is our job as sales leaders is to inspire and fire up our people. I'm not going to talk about that today, and I'm welcome at any point to speak to you about that, but let's not forget that there's nothing stopping a team of people who are inspired and, as I call, on fire from winning and achieving outstanding results. So let's just practice the chat a little bit, and I wouldn't mind getting to find out what your biggest obstacles are for success in 2022. What's your biggest obstacle? And I'll get on the chat here. And anyone? Interactive, guys. Who wants to share their biggest challenge? Or maybe all of you can share your biggest challenge, and I'll go through a few of them, but don't see any of them up yet. Lack of customer interactions and engagement due to COVID. Yes. Reaching the right prospects. Getting healthcare leaders to listen to opportunities outside of COVID concerns. Yes. So we got some pharma people here, as I'm not surprised. Mark, keeping reps inspired. Okay, we can talk. Well, we're not going to talk about that today, but maybe the next session we'll talk about that. Anybody else? What obstacles are you facing? Thanks for sharing, Mark. Greg, who did I miss? Getting reps back in the field. Yes. Okay. So it seems the prevailing issue here is one of really dealing with COVID, and I think there's 4 themes when I look at yes, Stefan, adapting to change 100%. But the 4 biggest themes I see in terms of talking to companies and what you guys are facing are: number 1, there are supply chain issues that are keeping product from getting out to your customers. They're causing back order situations. They're short stock. You can't get supplies. Also, we're seeing inflation and pretty dramatic inflation where, my daughter works for a CPG company, and they've had to raise prices 15 to 20% just because of raw material increases. And so the impact on inflation on the sales force is having to go to your customers and say, hey, by the way, we're increasing price, and nobody wants to have price increased. Also, if you guys have read the great, what's it called? The Great Attrition or the Great Resignation. In it, McKinsey talks about 40% of people in the workforce wanting to leave their jobs. Well, can you imagine if 40% of your sales force left? You'd be, what that would mean for your business. And of course, as much as we thought we are out of it, COVID is running rampant, and we're still seeing the impact of, I guess it's wave 5 in Canada. I don't know what it is in other countries, but we're seeing the impact of reps not being able to make calls or not being able to see customers. They're able to make calls. but I'm sure you're going to be facing one or more of these issues going forward. And the reality is, assuming most people online are sales leaders, because this session is exclusively for sales executives and managers, the reality that you face is that you still have to maintain and grow your business, and you still have to develop new business. That is the reality. So your objectives haven't changed, although the world has changed. And as someone put here, always adapting, Stefan, you need to adapt. And I'm going to show you how to adapt some key strategies to succeed in this environment. This is one of my favorite quotes because I think it pertains more so to sales leadership than any other leadership roles. But Peter Drucker said that effective leadership is not about making speeches or about being liked. Leadership is about results, not attributes. So hopefully, I've made the point that at the end of the day, it really is about results. And if you get the results, then you can lead any way you like. You can be a great leader, but it does come down to the importance of delivering results. And I'm going to talk about 5 strategies to help you get there. So what is the key difference between what I'm going to talk about today and what you're already doing? I'm going to share 5 key strategies. And in some cases, I'm just going to let some folks in. Let's admit. Okay, so just a little distraction, but welcome, Laura. Thanks for joining. So I was asking what the question is what am I going to share today that will make a difference on the impact you make when delivering these 5 strategies. And that's what it comes down to. What I've learned over the last 30 years is sales is about the details. And really the trick to success is about being laser focused and disciplined in how you go about implementing your strategies. So each strategy, what I want to do is share why leaders are struggling to implement them, and also to share with you how to go about delivering on these 5 key strategies. So without further ado, and this is really what I call, the secret is about laser focus. And focus is so critical in sales, I can't overstate it. So what we want to talk about today is developing top performing sales reps, and many people are doing that. 2, executing with excellence. Proactively managing performance, and that's an oxymoron because it's very difficult to be proactive when you're managing performance, but I'll tell you how. One of the key concepts that has been so critical to my success is raising the bar on performance. I'm going to talk about that. And then the last one, given the challenges we're facing with hiring and retaining top people, given COVID, given a change in how many people view their jobs, really how to find the right people and how to retain them. And just along those lines, it is critical. It is critical that we have, as I said, first off, my first comments were sales leadership is about getting people ignited, getting your people on fire, and really having inspired people out there. So to me, one of the key tricks in general is about being a strong leader is if you are a strong leader, then it's a great way to retain your people. So let's talk about developing top salespeople. And to me, this is probably the most important strategy you can employ. As we said, the role of a sales leader is inspiring your people, but it's also helping them become their best. And this comes down to essentially effective coaching. If you're going to implement one strategy as a result of our masterclass today, this is the one. If you're a frontline sales manager, I'd like you to commit to becoming the best coach you can be. I'd like you to commit to allocating more time coaching. If you manage managers, then commit to developing your team of managers and to be great sales coaches. Also, coach them, train them, expect them to be great coaches. And here's the reason why I say that. Okay. Sales coaching is the #1 sales management activity that drives performance. It improves sales rep competencies, improves engagement, improves retention. If you have millennials on your team, millennials expect to be coached. And the challenge is many sales managers are just not great coaches. So let me just share. This is one of my favorite slides, and it was done by the Corporate Executive Board. And it was a survey of over 2,000 sales reps. And they basically talked about or answered the question on their manager's coaching effectiveness. So sales reps who had ineffective coaches versus highly effective coaches, the net difference in terms of sales to goal was 19%. And that's incredible. You can make a 19% increase or improvement in your team's performance by improving your coaching. Lots of digging going on here, but welcome. We keep growing our audience, so good stuff. So let me ask a question. I'm going to go to the polls, and if you can answer just yes or no, do you develop a formal coaching plan for each of your reps? And I'm going to put the poll up. Launch it. Okay, so if you can answer. Okay, seems to be split. We've got 10. Okay, keep going, keep going. Oh, it's split. Yeses are growing. Okay, got 2 seconds. Okay, we got 2/3 of you responded. Thank you. I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results with you. So it's about 50-50 that you have coaching plans for each of your reps, which is great for the 50% that do, and I'll talk about the 50% that don't. Let me just close this up. So in my world, the main reason why sales managers struggle to effectively coach, and you've probably never heard this before, but the problem is they follow the very simple formula of what I call flavor of the day coaching. So what does that mean? Well, today you're going to coach closing skills. Next time you're out with a salesperson, you're going to coach objective handling. The next time you're out, you're going to talk about something else. So this whole approach of, cookies and cream on Monday, forest berry on Tuesday, never creates skill mastery. So the key to improving skills is staying focused over a course of a number of months on one specific area. And as a sales manager, if you want to sort of evaluate yourself as a coach, if you are able to impact one sales competency or one key competency and move it from a proficiency of, 3 on 5 to a 4.5 on 5 over the course of 6 months, you've done an exceptional job as a coach. So we need to look at coaching differently as an ongoing process to help sales reps get better. So the key is, the only way you're going to get better at a skill, it's like going to the gym. If you want to have good biceps or big biceps, like me, no, not like me. It's constantly working at your biceps. It's not working at your biceps and then your pecs and whatever. Effective coaching and skill improvement takes time. So let's talk about, my approach to doing that. So I call it focused sales coaching, and coaching begins with a plan. If you don't have a plan, well, you're not going to be an effective coach. And what a good plan looks like, I'm going to share with you in the next slide, is focused on 1 or 2 competencies, not more than that. If we want to improve, it's not about changing 10 things, because we can't do that. So it's focused on 1 or 2 competencies. In most cases, companies will focus on a portion of selling skills, whether it be opening, probing, or, asking great questions, closing, trial closing, objection handling. It needs to be driven by the individual. If I tell you that you need to improve your selling skills, that's nice, but it's not going to make a difference. You need to be committed and pick out which areas you're committed to improving. And the role of the coach is one of holding the individual salesperson accountable to the plan that they've developed. So here's an example of what a good plan looks like. I coach my clients using this exact same form. I call it focused coaching plan or a focused coaching journey. And basically it picks out 2 or 3 items or 1 or 2 items, whatever you decide, that you want to work on in terms of improving your performance or your sales reps' performance over the course of the next 6, 9, 12 months. Why is this important? What is the reason? What is the internal motivator? And then building a plan of how you're going to get there for each of those items. And then when, and then of course, checking it off if it's done. It's about a commitment, and it's about putting pen to paper. So the most effective plans could be a simple 1-pager like I'm showing you. But coaching, let's remember, coaching starts with a plan. Otherwise, it's flavor of the day coaching. And so many managers make that mistake. But if you have a plan, it guides your coaching. It basically establishes what's critical and keeps the coaching very focused. So let me open it up. So sales leadership strategy number 1 is effective coaching drives 20% more sales. And the key to move from a relatively ineffective coach to an effective coach is having your sales rep build their coaching plan. I'm going to try to make it as interactive as possible and really open it up. If you have any questions, type it into the chat and I will do my best to answer, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Any questions? Silence. Anyone want to type a question? How about you, Wayne? Okay.
Why are you bugging me, man? Yeah, I'm listening here. It's COVID era. I'm listening mode.
Okay, listening mode. Well, welcome. I wanted to call you out because this is kind of a blast from the past, and nice to have you on. Wayne and I go back probably over 30 years, where we went to college together and shared many case studies. So I figured I'd call you out at some point. Now
Yeah,
you can,
I know.
Now you can sit back and
I'll work
relax.
on a question for you for sure.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes. Who's this?
Hi, this is Deb Davison.
Hey, Deb.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, Deborah. Deborah. That's I know you as Deborah.
Yeah, you can call me Deborah or Deb, either one.
Okay.
So I was just taking some notes, trying to get my journey started as far as putting a plan together. And I am not sure that I have created, a solid style, if you will. I feel like a lot of times I'm all over the board, but I want a particular style. And I think that's going to help me narrow my focus when I decide on the competencies that I want to start with. Sometimes I think that I'm making this a lot harder than it needs to be. But I think that if I nail down what my style is, if you were to ask me, what's your style in coaching? I'm not sure I would know. I'd probably think about all the ones that I know, that I've tried, but I'm not sure which one to pick. So do you have any advice on that?
I sure do. And I think you hit it on the nose that I'm not sure if you're overthinking it. In terms of coaching, the one mindset shift in terms of being an effective coach is shifting from telling people what to do to asking effective questions. And I'm not sure what style that is. I call it a coaching style of leadership. And I think your leadership style will evolve over time. And I think really in terms of nailing down a leadership style, just decide that you want to be an effective coach. And what that means is really asking instead of telling. And just that mindset shift, you will see much better results.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Stephen,
Anybody
I do have
else?
a question, actually.
Go ahead.
This is Wayne McGurk. So the question I have is, being an effective coach, working with them physically in the office as we used to do, and now with COVID times, we're doing this all remotely.
Yeah.
How can we effectively work with them and motivate them like we would in the office with the physical interaction, going to see clients versus working remotely and how we're going to target clients remotely.
Okay, so as the coach, I have actually a webinar you can find recorded on that, but I call it virtual coaching. To be honest, as we talk about virtual calling, it's probably not as effective. But the fact is, given we keep going back to virtual selling, it is critical that the sales manager, if they can't be with the rep, that they're on them on a Zoom call, and that they do the same coaching methodology that they would do face-to-face. After the call or before the call, what's your objective on the call? They can do an effective debrief, a pre-call plan and discuss their objectives. And then post-call, part of great coaching is observing. So the ability to observe on Zoom is probably, arguably, not that much different from the ability to observe when you're in a call. So what I have found is many managers have become reluctant to coach remotely, and many reps have been resistant to having their managers coach them. And I think that's a big mistake that managers are making, that organizations are making. That there's great opportunity to improve your reps' virtual selling skills. The only way to do that is to coach and observe.
That's a good answer. Makes sense.
Thank you. I pass.
pass.
Anybody else?
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
This is Sam Gonzalez. How are you? Happy New Year.
Sam, how are you? How are things in New York?
Pretty good.
Good.
I'm actually in Delaware right now, but New York is fine.
Okay.
Hey, so I just wanted to, give my 2 cents on the coaching bit. I mean, you and I have had many conversations about the importance of coaching. And I think with in the age of COVID, the most important thing that I've been recommending to people is to be intentional about your coaching. And so I love that little form that you just, shared with us, because it focuses on one specific competency or skill that you want someone to get better at. I'll just give you an example. We had somebody who has a time management issue, and it was so interesting because I was like, okay, it's time management. So what is the manager going to do about that person's time manager? They can't just send them a training and say, hey, get better at managing your time. The coach has to hold that person accountable. And that's what I love about that form. And then the other thing in terms of, style of coaching, I think, what I tend to focus with the managers that I'm teaching about coaching is to just focus on the skills that you want to improve, like listening, like being consistent about the coaching that you're giving, focusing on one competency at a time over a period of time. And those are the things where you will tend to see like some behavioral outcomes in your salespeople or whoever the person is, right? If you want to get that consistent behavior, then you have to keep that person in mind and stay focused on that.
You got it. And that's one of the key. I'm with you, Sam. I think the problem is that we, like our generation, we tend to move from one thing to the next, chasing the shiny fish, and improving skills takes time, right? We train, we reinforce, we train, we reinforce, we coach. So the expectation, I think, of improving skills is, as you say, keep it small, focus on one skill, maybe 2, and then keep working at that and keep holding that person accountable. And when I say accountability, I'm really just talking about circling back and seeing how they're doing. That's it. How has it gone with listening? In the last 2 or your last meeting, what did tell me what you picked up by listening as opposed to speaking, and asking the same question, so the individual keeps building their skill and they keep focusing on it. Because even if you're out with your reps, let's say you have 10 reps and you're out once every 10 days with them, the development happens outside your coaching. It happens when they're on their own. As long as they start asking themselves the same questions, then they can improve. Thanks for your comments, Sam, and Wayne, and Deborah. Okay, so is it okay if I move on? Does anyone have any questions on sort of the focused approach and coaching starts with a plan? So the results, I assume I flashed them up, was about 50-50. And I'm not sure, when I mention a plan, how formal everyone's plan is, but it could be simple as a one-page document, which I use for my coaching clients, and I have them use for their salespeople. So executing with excellence, and I don't know how many times I've written this down when I was in industry, that we want to execute with excellence. And here's the challenge in industry, or the challenge I see. Marketers spend months, at least in the industries and healthcare, months. They spend months building their marketing plans, analyzing the market, positioning their products, building strategies, building tactics. And the question is how much time do sales leaders spend on developing their execution plans? Or do they have execution plans? So let me share some thoughts on execution. This is Morris Chang. Morris Chang is the founder of Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. They're very popular right now, given we're having all types of issues in terms of out of stocks with microchips and what have you. And he basically said, without strategy, execution is aimless. Without execution, strategy is useless. So most of the literature says that 75, 85, 90% of companies fail to execute effectively. And I guess one before we even talk about that is, what is the definition of execution? I'm going to share one that I've picked up over time. I'm not sure if it's mine or if it comes from other experts, but let me give a simple definition of what execution is. Okay, to me, execution is the discipline, because actually sales leadership to me is a discipline more than an art or a science of getting the most important things done. Okay, very simple definition. And I would put a comma and say really well. So the discipline of getting the most important things done really well. Okay, and very similar to coaching, and that's why I put it second, is in most cases, sales leaders don't spend the time to develop a formal sales execution plan, or even know what a formal sales execution plan is. So let me just put this up, and you can answer. Give us your honest answer so we can get a good survey. Do you have a formal sales execution plan or a sales execution planning process? Okay, look at all the folks who are, the no's are taken back. Okay, we've got about half the folks who have answered. Okay, about the same number of folks. So I'm going to end the poll in 1, 2 seconds. Okay. So can everyone see the results? It's very similar to formal coaching plans. We have pretty much an even split between people who develop a formal sales execution plan and folks who don't. This is a big opportunity that I think those other 50% are missing. So let's look at what I call 5 steps. And again, my whole approach to sales leadership is about simplicity. For those of you who have worked with me, you know that. So here are 5 steps to building a sales execution plan. So if you remember the definition, I'm not going to go back, but it's about the discipline of focusing on the most important things and doing them really well. So the first step is, and I ask this to every sales leader that I speak to, especially kicking off a year, what are your 3 critical success factors that you and your team need to do to be successful? Okay, so there's a process that we use to determine that. It's usually buy-in from the whole sales management team, where you cluster your ideas, and then you basically narrow it down to 3. As you notice, anything over 3, I think people lose focus. So what's an example of a critical success factor? I asked one sales leader, I'm not sure if he's here. So if he is, then kudos to you. But the first thing he said to me was, growing new business. Okay. Then its second step is developing a plan of how are you going to get there? How are you going to develop new business? Establish metrics to measure achievement of each critical success factor. So, you know, if it's 5 new accounts per rep, whatever that metric is establishing a metric, setting up periodic reviews. And I'm going to talk about reviewing stuff or reviewing performance. And then basically focusing. So on a daily basis, if it's developing new business, you're not going to ask the rep questions or coach them on stuff like, you know, or getting your paperwork in. It's really about, as leadership, keeping everybody focused on what's critical. So your questions would be, tell me, you know, Wayne or Chris, I'll you know, what, and Chris knows this because we chat about this every year, and he's become great at it. You know, keeping your reps focused on what's critical for success. So when you're speaking to them or doing business reviews, it always comes back to your critical success factors. If you start asking questions or coaching them on other stuff, then they lose focus. So it's up to you to keep people focused once you've done all this work at the beginning of the year to keep focusing on those items. I'm going to put it back to the group. It's not complicated, but as we see, only 50% of sales leaders are doing it. I'm not sure if they're doing it the same way I am. I've done this with a number of companies, or I've coached people through this. It's a great way to get focused on what's critical and to continue to execute through the year. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. Thank you. Chris Weiss, do you want to jump in and say anything on this? Not that I'm...
Oh, sure. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I learned from you is on this topic is once you've identified the, you know, critical success factors, is when you're coaching, just keep asking questions about those. And eventually it might take, depending on the person, it might take one coaching session, it might take somebody 2 or 3, but eventually they get it. And they know that you're going to be asking about, you know, how are we coming with new business? How are we, you know, are we growing? Do we have, you know, the clients that are going to, you know, the prospects that are going to deliver that new business? Do we have current clients that we're growing? And then you mentioned, how are we doing with getting new logos? So yeah, it all comes together in those coaching conversations and in the, you know, the quality of the questions you ask.
Beautiful. And I think you hit it on the one of the nuances, you know, that I call being obsessive. And it's not really about being obsessive. It's about asking the same questions. And it's not being about senility, which I joke about, because I do ask the same questions over and over again. But once you start to do that, whether you're coaching, whether you're managing performance, people that understand, or your people understand or begin to understand what you're looking for. So they come prepared to answer those questions as opposed to them being surprise questions. Thanks for piping in, Chris. So this is always an interesting one. And just moving my board around here a little bit, but you know, if we talk about proactively managing performance, it's kind of an oxymoron because performance reviews happen after the activities happen. But let's talk about this concept and the importance of managing performance. And I want to start with this comes from a boss I once had. And he would do this constantly. You know, we'd kick off a new program, and every day he would ask how it's going. And to me, that's really all about micromanagement. You know, if you plant a seed, you have to allow it, you have to water it, you have to nurture it, and you have to allow it to grow. If you're digging up the seed each day, it's never going to grow. So there's always a balance between managing performance and micromanaging performance. And the reality is, you know, nobody wants to work for a micromanager. So if you're a micromanager, Here's my solution to you. And here's a way to not be, I guess, a micromanager, but proactively manage performance. And really the key is, and folks who have worked with me have learned this, is it's really about establishing meeting cadence, because you do have to review performance. But the trick is, it's not like it's an everyday question. How's sales? How are sales? How are sales? You drive people crazy. Or how are you doing with this? How are you doing with this? It's really about establishing a cadence, which means, if you're doing a monthly sales review with each of your reps, then being consistent and disciplined to do those. Or if you're holding a quarterly business review, when sales are booming, you don't not do a quarterly business review. You set up those meetings in advance so people know, or your people know, that you are going to review performance at this point in time. So here are the 4 steps, and it's very simple. Establish at the beginning of the year, what is your frequency of these meetings? So if you're going to review sales monthly sales, it's a 45-minute session, or it's a half-hour session. What's the purpose? Review sales, develop a consistent process with a standard template. So it's very simple. What are we looking at? What are our critical success factors? And go through the metrics. And then, of course, I threw in a but, because there is a but here. And here is the but. When you're focusing on performance, and I don't know if anyone wants to pipe in here, there's sort of 2 components to it. One is, how much time do you spend reviewing performance, and how much time do you focus on what they're going to do next? What's their plan for the next month? What's their plan for the next quarter? Anyone want to pipe in and tell me where they focus their, let's say, their quarterly business reviews? Let me just put. Oh, there's my chat. My chat's hiding below. I kind of hid it. Okay, so Don is 50-50. Anybody else? Okay, Doug, thank you. 40-60. Yeah. Oh, okay, I missed Laura. Laura's 20-80 forward. Rick 70-30. McGurk is 40-60. I mean, Wayne. I can't read your name, but also 40-60. Rick Storage 70-30. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, the tendency on reviews, thank you for sharing. The tendency on reviews is that we spend most of the time reviewing, which is great. And then we spend some time focusing forward. The key to successfully driving outstanding results is shifting our focus, as Laura said, is moving it to 20% review, because we still want to review and learn from what's happened. So what have we learned? How have we done? But really, when your sales rep comes, and my belief is, I'm going to talk about this, when they come to a review meeting, it's not the manager's role to review performance. It's the sales rep who owns the territory, who owns the franchise. It's their job to come prepared with how have they done, and then really with a prime focus on what are we doing going forward? Because the fact is, you cannot, as you know, impact the past. You can't drive looking through the rearview mirror. You need to be looking forward. And if you're not looking forward, then the essence of the review is great, but it's very micromanaged. It's managed on the past, whereas opposed to what are you doing next month to drive sales? And this is a very important concept. Sorry, I just need a little refresher. But for those of you who are spending more than 50% of your time on a review, you may want to relook at how you're spending your time when you sit down with your reps. And also in terms of meetings, preparing them to come with a plan which is focused forward. Okay, the only way you can drive the car is by focusing forward. The only way you can deliver results is by focusing forward. So if you don't want to be a micromanager, there's basically a couple steps. One is establish excuse me, establish a cadence for when you're having your meetings to review performance. Number two is follow that cadence, because I know what happens when sales are good, everybody stops reviewing performance. And really the whole idea of reviewing performance is not about the past, it's about the future. And I'm going to talk about that next. So as I've done with each of the sections, does anyone have any questions on the concept and strategy, hack, whatever you want to call it, gem of focusing forward? Because I think that's a critical one that I learned in a course I took many years ago, but I've always carried forward with me. Anyone want to, any questions on that, or is that pretty straightforward? Okay, I'm going to assume it's pretty straightforward. And then I'm going to talk about, another one of my favorite concepts, which I call raising the bar on performance. So this, I don't know if you want to call it a strategy, but I'll call it a strategy. But when I was VP of sales, my last job in industry, we did a great job of raising the bar on performance. And interestingly enough, and I don't know if I called it that at the time, but 18 years later, I've kind of developed a name for it. But it is about raising the bar on performance, and it is a way of thinking within your organization that's very focused on improving performance. Now, I've done this with many clients, and anyone I've worked with, it is about raising the bar. So what does raising the bar mean? Well, actually, what is the results that I had with raising the bar? Well, the 3 years I was VP of sales at a company called BioVale, we tripled sales. Okay, we had a small market share, but we grew like crazy because we always raised the bar on performance. And it really requires a discipline. I keep talking about discipline on behalf of sales leadership, and it's an expectation that everyone in the sales organization has, and it applies to everybody. So let's talk about raising the bar on performance. Okay, so question first, I should know this, but when your reps come to a sales review like we just spoke about, do they come with a plan how they're going to raise the bar or how they're going to improve performance, or do they come prepared to talk about how they did? So yes, they come prepared with a plan, or no, they don't. Now I'm going to venture to guess it's probably going to end up about 50-50, but okay, we'll let it run for another 3 seconds, and please put in your answer. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to just talking my way through this, share the results. So this is more of a 60-40 split. So 60% say no, there isn't an expectation that they come with a plan on raising the bar. And let's talk about the value of this. And again, it's not a complicated concept, but it's an approach to sales leadership. I'm missing a slide here. Oh, here we go. So raising the bar on performance, I don't care where the sales rep is at in terms of sales to quota, because sales to quota is basically a number that management comes up with, right or wrong. In most cases, it's wrong. It's either too high or too low, according to the salespeople. So really the question is, how do you know what your true growth potential is? But by setting quotas, we do a couple things. One, we establish what the minimum level for performance is hitting your quota. But it doesn't stretch thinking. It doesn't push the rep to do more and grow more and really find out what their potential is. So this is a concept. And really, to me, it's an expectation. If you're a VP of sales, from your sales managers, if you're a sales manager, it's an expectation from your reps. So every time you look at performance, as I talked about focusing forward, it's more than just focusing forward. It's focusing forward and coming with a plan of how they're going to move from wherever they're at to the next level. Okay, got it? So let's say the rep is at 90% quota. How are they going to get to 95? So when they come sit down with you, or you sit down with them, however you want to look at it, they're at 110. Well, that's great. Great job at 110. How are you going to get to 120? What do you need to do to get to 120? So it's always challenging your people to do more, because we don't know what the true opportunity is. If you're in a whatever business you're in, I was going to say if you're in a small business, but it doesn't matter what business, until you have 100% market share or whatever that is, 50% market share, there's still opportunities to grow. And you as a sales leader need to be always expecting. So if someone doesn't come prepared, they're at the 110, they think, damn, I've done a great job this quarter. And you don't ask them, well, how do you get to 115 or how do you get to 120? Then you're short selling the organization. You're not raising the bar on performance. So really what it involves and coaching about asking questions, but really what you want to always be doing is stretching your thinking, your reps thinking, and raising the bar is a process that does that. We tend to limit our thinking of how we're going to meet expectations or how we're going to exceed objectives, but we don't really know what our true potential is, right? Our true potential is defined by either a marketing person who built the budget or a head of sales. And how do we know if we're ever maximizing our growth? Do we aim for what our top reps market share is or what our top reps growth is, and everyone should be aiming for that? Because in most cases, growth is unlimited potential, but we don't think of it that way. So this whole process of raising the bar and creating the expectation that we're always striving to meet the next level of performance. And we come to a review meeting or when we speak to you as our sales leader, we're always saying, hey, you know what, there's 3 new logos that I can get. Maybe I need some resources, but I'm planning to not just hit the 10 that you've asked me to, but maybe there's another 3 more. So I'm not going to stop at the 10 which is in our critical success factors. I want to do better. And it's your job to foster that thinking in terms of how can you do better? What can you do? So, what is your real potential for growth? How can you maximize your growth? What is your potential market share? So my message here is don't limit your reps thinking about their business around just meeting quota. It's about maximizing sales and growth. And companies, one of the greatest examples, and I'm not sure if there's a way around it, but companies set minimum call expectations. And really what that does is saying, hey, you need to do 5 calls a day or 5 virtual calls plus whatever, send 22 emails, whatever the number may be. What you're doing is when you set minimums, you set the bar for mediocrity. Because, if you say, hey, I expect you guys to make 50 calls a day. Well, they'll make 50 calls a day. They won't make 55, they won't make 60, they won't make 70 because they don't know their limit. You're not stretching their thinking. So raising the bar on performance combined with focus forward thinking is a great way to drive your business. So again, I'll put it out to, just to be interactive and ask, are there any questions on raising the bar on performance? Or everyone gets the concept. How many of you are doing it? Put yes if you're doing this.
Hi, Stephen. This is Deb in Phoenix.
Deb, hi.
Hi. I don't have a sales team yet.
Yes, the yet is the operative term.
But I've been thinking about some of the questions that the senior executives might ask me if I'm in a position where I want a director role or a sales manager's role. And they ask me that very question, how I am going to raise the bar as far as performance goes. And it's, it's with a group of new people that I've never worked with. I got to think so many different, ways this could go. There's so many variables. There's so many personalities and characteristics of what that team sells. And so I've gone out to, reached out to you, reached out to a couple experts on podcasts that I've listened to and whatnot, taken a lot of notes. And I think the best thing that I've heard is a combination of what you just said and a podcast. And I'm sorry, I can't refer to the person's name that had the podcast, but so back to what you said raising the bar of performance really starts with establishing maybe a minimum level, right? But it also, I think what I've learned, it starts with looking at the full potential. So also looking at the maximum level. Because if you look at the maximum level, you can really be, things can be transformative. So the way I look at it is some of my salespeople that I might be coaching someday, some have massive clients, and some of those are focusing on, maybe the B and C accounts. But if I get their mindset to start thinking of the total possibility within an account, then it starts to get real interesting. And then maybe you could work backwards, on what to do, what you got to do, ways there. And that takes planning, right? So now you've got the minimum possibilities and the maximum possibilities. So you got your rep thinking about what is the total potential within this account. They start planning from the top. Then you take a little bit of the sales rep's personality, hopefully lots of ambition. And then you slowly start, achieving your quota, basically. And quota just happens. I mean, if you take them to that level of, okay, who's your audience? How deep do you want to go on strategy? Spend some time with them, make sure their mindset's right on the total potential. Then I think quota will just happen, or at least that's what I'm hoping.
I agree with most of what you had said, and it does start with what's the potential. And I think sometimes our first question is well, how do we make quota? And the point is that everybody has room to grow, because the next year we expect to grow, and the next year we expect to grow. But is anyone looking at how they can really grow their business, or are we sort of creating a mindset where achieving quota is the goal? And the days that we grew sales as a team by 300% over 3 years, so we tripled sales from 70 to 221 million. We kept raising our forecast because we were doing so well. And I part of it could be, I believe part of it was strong sales leadership. And really that to me, that is one of the key factors is don't set minimum standards, push for stretch people's thinking. So Rick Storis, I think I said storage last time. My apologies, Rick. How do you determine the maximum level? That's a great question. What if I told you there is no maximum level? What if it's about how hard you see the potential and where the opportunities are, and really capitalizing on them? Of course, you don't want to be running everywhere, but the point being that I really want to look at stretching thinking. So if you look at focusing forward, if you look at raising the bar, which are, I guess, two concepts, I call them strategies. It's a way of looking at your business, and I guess the maximum is if you have all the business. It's probably not realistic, but and maybe it's even if you have all the business, how do you grow into other areas? So it's a future focused, growth focused approach to business. So you're not spending time in the past. You're always looking forward and looking at how you can drive more sales. I think we do that, but I think we don't stretch the thinking enough. And if I look at coaching questions to ask, when you're going through a review, I always ask sales rep or sales manager, what can you do to get to 110%? What else can you do to get to 110%? If you're at, let's say, 105, what else can you do? So it's constantly about stretching their thinking. And then once you've exhausted all the thoughts, is there anything else you can do? So it's always about trying to stimulate that thinking. It's not about telling them what to do, but it's about stretching their thinking and setting expectations.
So Stephen, if the current state is the baseline, then we should be looking at how do you grow to the next level, and just use that for everything, right?
100%.
Okay, I'm good.
You are good. Thank you. Okay. I'm just checking to see how we're doing for time. We're getting close to the hour. I have one more concept I want to speak about. So hope you bear with me because it is an important concept. And one of the main reasons why I put it in is a lot of my clients are struggling on the hiring component to get to get higher top reps, because the talent pool doesn't seem to be what it used to be. Although that's probably been a complaint all the time. So how do we effectively decide which of these reps has the potential to be a top performer? And I want to throw in one more question here. And if you bear with me, I will put it up and just ask a very simple question on hiring. Do you use psychometric assessments or any type of assessment to augment your interview / hiring process? Okay, I'll let it go for another few seconds. I guess I've lost a few people here, but okay, so I'm going to close it off and share the results with you. In essence, 30% of sales leaders are using or incorporating assessment into their hiring process. 70% are not. And I guess in many cases, the challenge is this involves HR. But what I've realized is great interviewing questions gets you so far. But when you really need to narrow down, and I wish this picture was a little bit clearer, but the bottom line is if you got 5 people you're interviewing, only one of those has the potential to be a top performer. By nature, your top performers are your top 20%. So how do you figure out which one, right? That's really the question at hand. So what I have found is that, using great behavioral interviewing skills, which is a key skill, following a rigorous hiring process, and using an assessment, and I've got my favorite one, but using an objective measure to determine, does the person have the right sales stuff? Does the candidate will they survive? Will they thrive? What is their closing style? Are they a good self-manager? Will they find the way to get through the door and open up that door? And those are some things that are very challenging, even with great behavioral interviewing skills to determine. So how do you determine those? I use a psychometric assessment, and I guess this is maybe I guess the best psychometric assessment is the one that you understand and know how to interpret. Because I think they all add a piece to the equation. They're not the equation, but they add a piece to the equation. And this is one that I share with clients. It's called the Predictor of Performance, or POP for short. And the beauty of what it gives you, you get a number of reports on the candidate, but you also get, on a very simple level, some very high level reports, which looks at what is the likelihood of success. So there's a recommendation, either it's proceed with caution, which is a red light, proceed with extreme caution, which to me is a no, proceed with caution, maybe you want to dig deeper, or proceed. It doesn't mean higher, but it gives you also a probability of success based on, I believe, 30 million assessments. So it's a great tool to add to your hiring process to make sure that you can identify, once you've narrowed things down, maybe to 2 candidates, is there any flags? And what is the probability of them being a top performer? So I'm just going to end off there. 12:01, I'm done pretty good in terms of time. Just to remind you, the 5 sales leadership strategies that I believe will help deliver outstanding results. You don't have to do all of them, but I bet if you improved on one of them, it would impact your results. So improving sales rep competencies and performance by building a coaching plan for each rep. Sales execution starts with bye, Sam, thanks for coming. don't jump off. I've got one more slide to go, actually in questions. So sales execution starts with identifying 3 critical success factors in building a plan, being future focused on performance, not spending too much time in review, always raising the bar on performance, and leveraging predictive sciences to determine which candidates are best for you. So I'm just going to say, this is not a commercial presentation, but if you do want to talk about achieving outstanding results, you can visit my website, starresults.com, and you're welcome to schedule a free consultation. And I'll just end with opening up for any questions. I know people have tight calendars, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Great work, Stephen. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Yes, well worth the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Very impressive, Stephen. I have to say, you haven't changed so much in 35 years. You're still very good at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. I could, thanks for joining. It's nice to reconnect. It's been a while, but hopefully when COVID's over, there's an opportunity to reminisce.
For sure, buddy, for sure. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for inviting me today. I learned a lot and it was very helpful.
Okay, I thought it would be helpful for you. Thanks for all the great session comments. John had asked which is my favorite assessment. If you type in Predictor of Performance or POP7, that'll give you some sense as to at least the one that I use. And as I said, as long as you know how to interpret what it's telling you, it's probably a very good profile or assessment. But the challenge is some people get assessments and don't really understand what they're seeing. And I really help train my clients understanding how to interpret them. Otherwise, they're of no value.